Hello, I'm Judith Richards. I'm the creator of TRTP, the Richards Trauma Process. Welcome to this podcast. I come across a lot of people who hear, the words the Richards Trauma Process and go, well, I've heard terrible stories. I've read things about people who've had the most horrendous lives, lots of trauma. And it's understandable that they'd have some, pretty major mental health issues. But I've never had that. I've had a pretty good life. I had a fine life growing up. I didn't want for anything. My parents were in a position where they could provide for me. Nothing dreadful happened. I've had some success in my career. Nothing dreadful has happened to me. Why am I so messed up? And I feel guilty for it because nothing bad has happened. What am I going on about? I'm just being, self-obsessed. I'm just being self-indulgent, self-focused. Other people have terrible things happen. But my life's a mess. I mean, sure, I've got the outer trappings perhaps, but there are other things going on. It's not working for me. And I feel bad about it. What's wrong with me? Okay, so let's unpack that a little bit. Things happen. Things happen. The first thing we've got to do is get a medical. How are your moans? Particularly when women get to a certain age, can I just say, with perimenopause and menopause, how are your moans? We call them hormones. I think they should be just called moans, don't you? How are your hormones? What do you need? How's your thyroid? Get that checked. Because there are some physical issues that can cause anxiety, that can cause overwhelm. How's your blood sugar? Have you ever thought about it? High blood sugar will mess you up. Low blood sugar will mess you up. Go to a really good medical practitioner and get checked out. First thing. Okay, then there's the other things. Let's just talk about the typical things that people say. All right. I overreact. Is that happening for you? Like there'll be a stressor that's this big and my stress response is like off the chart. I overreact. Where do you overreact? Well, I overreact in traffic. I overreact at work. If it's a difficult conversation, I might not show it, but inside I'm bursting like a volcano. I overreact with my kids when it's just so noisy, and I've just had it, it's just too much. It's like my life is just too much. I'm actually a really nice, good person. I'm not being the parent that I want to be. I've always dreamed of being because I just seem to be overwrought, overstressed, overstretched somehow. And I have nothing to complain about. It's okay. There's reasons why these things are happening. What else? I flood in difficult conversations. It's like I just shut down. I'll be having a conversation with my partner and my brain will just stop working. It's like I flood. I sweat. My heart races. Is that a thing? Is that a thing to shut down in a difficult conversation? Yes, it's a thing. And yes, it's called flooding. So we go into fight, flight, freeze, and our brain shuts down. We release adrenaline. It's a thing. I find myself all the time with my self-dialogue going, oh, I'm being triggered. I'm being triggered. What does that mean? And it's a really used word these days and sometimes overused, can I just say, but it's this, whatever's happening now is causing my past distress to come up. And can we just say the past distress, we think, no, but I'm being indulgent. No, it doesn't have to be big T trauma. It doesn't have to be natural disasters like massive bushfires and floods. It doesn't have to be horrendous events, war, refugees, torture. It doesn't have to be that. It can be little T, everyday stuff that happens to us. So what are some of the other things that people go, well, I don't have trauma, but my life's just not how I want it to be. I feel so overwhelmed at times. It's like life's too big. There's too much going on. And in our current society, it's not built to sustain a calm life, is it? So many extracurricular activities for the kids, for us, it's go, 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 go. I'm so busy, I'm so busy, I'm so busy. I said to someone who I love a little while ago, I said, you're so, so busy. What would happen if you just stopped and just took some time out? You need a rest. And I was so sad and distressed when she said, if I stop, my world will collapse. Because if I stop, I'll have to think, I'll have to take stock of my life, and I don't want to do that. And why didn't she want to do that? Because her life was out of balance and she would have to perhaps change some things. So let's look at our environment. That's key. Bruce Lipton, Dr. Bruce Lipton, one of the first epigeneticists. He was one of the first scientists to clone stem cells back at Stanford in the 70s, I think. Irrelevant information, but there we go. I'm chockers with trivia. I'll give it to you. And he found that it was environmental triggers that would cause those stem cells to become fat cells, heart cells, liver cells. Because stem cells can become anything. They're a generic cell that races around the body and repairs, and they can become anything. And he found it's the environment that triggers genetic expression. He says it's the environment. And he also discovered that our cells have only two switches: shut down survival, all our energy just going into sustaining life, nothing else, or thriving and growing. Our cells have only those two switches: shut down or thriving and growing. We are a community of, I don't know what it is, 50 trillion cells or something extraordinary. How are you? How are you really? Are you in shutdown survival? Or are you in the environment where you can thrive and grow? Here's something to look at. I was very ignorant of this for many, many years. I was in this situation. Are you in a toxic relationship and you don't even know? Are you in an abusive relationship and you don't even know? I was. It's not just with an intimate partner. It can be with offspring. It can be with family members. It can be with people at work. I'm going to do a whole other podcast of that. What are the signs, the signals? Stay tuned for that. That'll be next week. So our environment is so critical to whether we're in shutdown survival or thriving and growing. It's more than our current environment, just saying. And I'll say it again because it's important. It's more than just our current environment. It's the environment in which we grew up. It's the environments in which we have lived through our life. Because everyday stuff can happen in those environments. I mean, let's just look at attachment. Oh, yeah. People go, oh, it all goes back to childhood. That's what they all say. I'm just bloody bored with that. Well, I'm really sorry, but it does all go back to childhood because that's when we're programmed. Programmed. Yes, we are programmed in those first 7 years. The software is installed that will run what comes up on the screen of our life. Yes, it's like a computer. And I talk to lots of people who have had fairly successful lives who they say, you know, they had a final, nothing terrible happened in childhood. Their parents provided for them. And then you ask, but darling, who did you go to for comfort? Oh, I'd get on my bike. I'd ride my bike. That guy became a Tour de France competitor. Is it any wonder? But sometimes we're not aware that, yeah, our parents provided for us, but they weren't there for us emotionally. I'm not saying this is all parents, and this is not about parent victimization and parent dumping. I mean, I'm a parent. It's part of our job description that we mess up our kids. Just saying. There are so many things that go on in our life and we go, it's just not working for me. I get angry all the time. A lot of people say that. I get angry. I get too angry at my kids. I hate that. I get too angry at my partner. It's out of proportion to what's going on. But this is the thing. This is the thing. Lean in. This is important. Something's going on here. Okay. There's something going on with the kids. There's something going on with my partner, a difficult conversation perhaps, but why we overreact to what's going on here is what's happening here actually triggers what's happened in the past, and that turns on those video loops. So that's when I was 3 and when I was 7, when I was 9, when I was 15. So we're not just reacting to what's going on here. We're reacting to those past events that have never been processed properly, never been put in long-term memory. The door's shut and let's just get on. What's the next thing on the agenda? So if things are not going well for you, get your body checked. Moans, thyroid, blood sugar. Talk to your medical practitioner. And then look at your environment. Are you living in the environment which provides you the space to thrive and grow? Look at your relationships, your close relationships. You may need some support to do this because it can be tough. It can be tough to look at, family member relationships and go, no, that's toxic. That's actually abusive. And then look at the past. It doesn't have to be huge, big, massive stuff. It can be everyday little stuff. Parents not being present. The school teacher who humiliated us. The kids who bullied us. That's running in our unconscious. And why are we overreacting, feeling overwhelmed, totally stressed by what's going on now? Because it is causing that stuff to rise up within us again. What do we have to do to turn off the overwhelm? And, there's anxiety, depression, yes, but we don't often talk about that. I'm angry. I'm stressed out. I overreact. I shut down. I get triggered. I keep going into relationships with unavailable people. It's a spectrum from mild to extreme, isn't it? But the thing is, if you're feeling overwhelmed, stressed out, there's something you can do about it. You don't have to sit for years talking about it and analyzing it, just saying. It can be sorted pretty quickly with TRTP, three to 4 sessions. But there's nothing wrong with you. You are not broken. You're just a bit off balance. You can say, well, I don't have anxiety. I don't have big anxiety. I don't have panic attacks. My friend has panic attacks. I don't have that. I don't have big trauma. Nothing dreadful's happened to me. It doesn't matter. It's an accumulation of small things. And it can be just small things in our programming from when we were little, like unattainable high levels of achievement that you set yourself, that cause perfectionism, that cause imposter syndrome. So anyway, just a few thoughts on, you don't have to have big T trauma. Nothing dreadful needs to have happened to you to warrant you reaching out. Resistance. Now that's another thing. When people weren't there when we were little, when they weren't there for us, to hold our hand, to support us, what happens when we grow up? We don't reach out because we can't trust people. No one's going to be there for us. So we do everything on ourselves. That hyper independence. Is that you? You don't like people? I mean, how many people do you come across and go, oh, I don't like people. Can't be trusted. I do everything myself. I was like that. And we can come back into balance. It's not real hard. Go gently, people. Go gently. Thank you.